Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast that's dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be. Join us on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and inspiration as we explore the world of leadership and personal growth. In each episode, we will explore the art and science of effective leadership, bringing you insights, stories, and strategies from experts and thought leaders across various industries. And now your hosts, Dawn Marie Bornheimer, Maisha B. Hoy, Janelle E. Taylor, and Dr. Sharon H. Porter. Welcome to Leading with Purpose, the podcast is dedicated to helping you become the leader you aspire to be as you lead, empower, inspire, and achieve. I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter, Editor-in-Chief of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine.
Everyone, I am Maisha B. Hoy, CEO of BSHG LLC, which manages and markets Maisha Lemonade Stand for the Growth Entrepreneur, Cuba for Black-owned businesses, and my personal passion, customer first marketing.
And I'm Dawn Marie Bornheimer, founder and chief impact officer for Mission Inspired Consulting.
Are truly excited to welcome Dr. Rachel Edoho-Eket, best-selling author, elementary principal, ASCD faculty member, and president-elect of the Maryland Association of Elementary School Principals. Welcome to the show, Dr. Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me, everyone. I'm excited for this conversation today.
Thank you so much. So, Rachel, I have the privilege of kicking this off, and both of us are in Maryland educators, Maryland principals, and we know that the blueprint for Maryland's future is the hot button topic all around the state of Maryland. This emphasizes expanding early childhood education. And we know that early childhood is the foundation. It is pivotal to the foundation and the success of our scholars. You yourself was a kindergarten teacher. So I would love for you to share the significance and the importance of early childhood education.
Yes, this is actually my favorite part of the Maryland Blueprint and the one that I'm definitely the most passionate about. I have been an early childhood educator for my entire career, and I really do love that focus on our youngest learners, starting from birth to grade 3. That's where we really maximize our time with children, getting them acclimated to the learning process. Of course, our parents are our child's first teacher. And then when the children enter their preschool experiences or their home experiences, or all those early childhood experiences are so important to the development of children. So not only academics, but also emotionally, physically, all the ways that children grow. It's so important for us to nurture that for every single child. So that's what I do love about the Blueprint. It really expands that access to make sure that each child from a young age is set up for success.
And one of the things as a building leader and now working with teachers who are in early childhood, you really can feel the need to really help them, because a lot of times we have our beginning teachers, sometimes you have seasoned teachers also, but a lot of times that's where they start in our pre-K and kindergarten. And that's really the most delicate time for our teachers. So I'm really excited, and I know that that's your passion. And so I know that has to be a strong suit in your school building. And congratulations on starting in a new school this year.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I love my new school. And I definitely love what you said just about that emphasis. That's true. I bring an early childhood lens to the principalship, which is somewhat unique. A lot of principals sometimes are coming with that intermediate experience. Well, I was coming from a kindergarten classroom straight to the assistant principal role and then to the principalship. And so my current school and my previous school had an early childhood regional center. So that's for students who are 3 years old and up, who may have developmental needs or who are peers in the program. And I said from the very beginning at my new school, you all will see me every day in pre-K. You will see me every day in the MAESP program, and they do. And the children know my name. They're working on their pronunciation.
Yes.
And I love going in there to see the youngest learners and seeing all the standards, all the play that is embedded, all the language, the writing, science, social studies, all of those wonderful standards that the children are learning. I love to see that.
Absolutely. So thank you for that.
Hi, Dr. Rachel. I am fascinated by the journey that you've been on because, as Dr. Sharon alluded to, you started off in kindergarten and you assistant principal. Now you are a leader at the state level with the Maryland. So give us more about your journey and how you arrived to be where you are today.
Yeah, so the journey has definitely been a long one. This is my almost 20th year in public education. So a large part of how I've been successful is through the relationships with the people that I have, both in my district and outside of my district. So I would say the biggest part of my journey has been mentorship. Mentoring is really important to me, as now I'm in a position to help mentor future leaders right now. And I know that was instrumental in me becoming more and stepping outside the classroom was because I had several principals and mentors who said, this is something that I can see in you, this leadership quality. So I did. That was initially, I had no interest in school-based leadership, but once I had a chance to really look at how you can expand your influence, I got interested in it, went back to school, got my certifications, applied, and was promoted right from there. And then as a principal, I had an opportunity to speak with some people in MAESP, and they said, this is a great opportunity for you to continue to learn and grow as a leader. So then I stepped out, ran for president-elect, and won. So now I've been able to do a lot more outside of my district. Now I'm looking at statewide and then nationally. I've been able to do some work with ASCD and presenting nationally and consulting. So that has really opened my eyes to what's beyond my current district. I love my district. I grew up in my district. I'm very close ties with my district, but I'm spreading my wings a little bit. And I'm really enjoying the process of connecting with people all around the country and in the world at this point through social media. So I've really found the journey to be one that's enjoyable, a lot of work, but it's all great work. My next part of my journey is becoming an adjunct professor. I wrote a course on mentoring and leadership with McDaniel College, and that starts next week. So I'm really excited to start teaching that course.
Congratulations. We talk about this on another podcast, work-life balance. I know that's one of your things.
Yeah.
But my question goes back to the moment that a teacher aspires to be a principal. How do you walk them through that journey as now in your new role as consultant and coach?
Yeah, so this was the focal point of my book, The Principal's Journey. I talk a lot about, first of all, what is the role and what are some things that are rewarding about it? What are some of the challenges? Because I think it's important that people understand the principalship and what it looks like to be a school-based leader. And then I talk about the importance of mentors and give people questions to ask and strategies to find a good mentor. What I found is a lot of people have that skill set to be a leader, but if you don't have someone behind you who is helping you navigate, giving you connections and networking with other influential people in your district, it's kind of hard to get that ball rolling for yourself. So it's really important that you're connected with someone who can help you along in to make that next phase in your career. And then from there, I talk about it's really important to build relationships. How do you do that? How do you foster a positive school culture? And how do you have hard conversations with people? Those are all part of the jobs of leadership. That's not the most, appealing part of the job, having those hard conversations, but communication is the cornerstone of effective leadership. We communicate every single day with a lot of different people. So I do stress that in the book as well. And then just taking those professional risks. I would not be where I am if I didn't step out every now and then and try something new. Now, that doesn't mean that everything I've done is successful, but I have learned from my mistakes. And when I am successful, I take those opportunities and I make 3 more from those. So that's just one of the ways that I've been successful. And I try to impart all of that wisdom in my book, The Principal's Journey.
Thank you. And if I haven't said thank you for your service to you, Dr. Rachel, and to you, Dr. Sharon, because I love children from a distance. So I know that's a really hard, that's a really hard, it's a really hard job. So thanks.
So much of what you shared is a perfect segue into my question. And I heard you say earlier that you were at a new school this year. So I want to acknowledge that as its own growth moment for both you and the individuals that you are looking to lead, right? They have to establish some level of trust with you. And I'd love to talk a little bit about your cornerstone for a healthy culture, which seems to be collaborative and based on trust. What kind of things would you recommend to a leader who's stepping into a new environment like you did? And how do you build that trust and collaboration early on, as they may have had a different experience with their previous leader than they're about to have with you?
Yes, I love this question. Thank you so much for that. I actually reached out to Dr. Porter and I said, hey, I think you have managed a couple of transitions in your district. So what are some strengths or strategies that you're using? So one of the first things that I would say is reach out to people who've done this successfully and getting some points from them. That's something that I did. As soon as I was moved, I reached out to Dr. Porter and asked those questions. One of the things that I definitely recommend is first being visible and being available for people. So when I was moved on July 1st, I sent an email to the community. I reached out to the assistant principal. I reached out to the PTA president. I met my office team. I asked where were we with hiring. I jumped kind of right in. I met the leadership team. I contacted everyone just via text. And I really said how excited I was to be there. So a lot of it is just about bringing that positive energy and figuring out where you can add value. And I also come with ideas. So I wasn't a new principal, but I am, yes, new to a new school community. So there were definitely some things that I had learned from my previous school. And I had some ideas that I didn't get a chance to do at my previous school that I really wanted to do in this new community. For instance, on the first day back, we typically would sit through a long day of staff meetings when staff returns. Well, I talked with the AP and with our leadership team. I said, what if we change that process a little bit? Instead of sitting in a meeting, what if we had breakfast together as a staff and then immediately went out into the community and did visits at the bus stops so that we could meet families on the staff's first day back? And everyone said, I love that idea. So we made posters before we came back. We got in our jerseys and we went into the community. And it was amazing. We publicized it. We text messaged the community and said, we're coming out at this day and time. We'd love to see you. We had pencils, we had lollipops, and it was a nice way for the community to see their teachers and staff and to get excited about the school year. And it was great for me because I didn't know anybody. So I was able to go out into the community and just put that face time in with families. Because like you said, there is a lot of anxiety, a little bit of nervousness when you are new somewhere. And when people don't know you. So I would say definitely bring the positivity, bring some new ideas, ask people for feedback. Today is my 100th day in my new school. And so I sent out a survey this morning saying, today's my 100th day at this school. I'm part of a new leadership team and I want my staff's feedback. So I made an anonymous survey with 3 questions. What's going well? What should we continue? What are my blind spots and what do I need to improve upon? And do you want to tell me anything else? So I'm really looking forward to hearing the feedback. I told the staff I would compile it and I will put it in an email so that everyone knows what I received and how I plan to address some of the celebrations and concerns.
I love that. And I love the opportunity that you created for everyone to see what type of ideas you would bring to the table by introducing one early. Yeah. And they got to see a lot of who you are in that moment. And I would hope that that built trust in those early moments. And then the collaborativeness of just simply asking, right? And being willing to listen. Yeah. And that's always going to be important for people to feel seen and heard and valued. And probably a handful of the people on your staff have been there a long time and they know the community well. And so they want to be acknowledged for that as well. So kudos to you for the way you approached the new school year.
Thank you so much. And yes, we have a lot of staff members that have that legacy. Their children went through this school. And so community is a huge part of the school. And I knew that, but this was just a new way to bring in the community and bring us out to the community. And so the parents absolutely love this idea, and we will be bringing it back in the springtime.
Perfect. Love it.
Okay, so Dr. Rachel, we already established that early childhood was a passion, but I also know that literacy is another passion of yours. And we know that it is the fundamental building block in a child's education. We know that, especially in those early years, right? Going back to that. So, what innovative strategies or even programs that have you used, particularly in fostering that literacy development in our students, and how do you work with parents to ensure that every child becomes a confident reader?
Yes, so we know that even prior to COVID, but definitely after COVID, we have seen the decrease in some of those literacy skills with children, increase in dyslexia, lots of different things that are happening right now around literacy. Our district actually has an initiative with Dibbles where every child is tested in the entire district, K through 5, to spot students who are performing well, who are kind of in this yellow zone, who may need some remediation, and students in this red zone who definitely need that remediation. So that's one of our most universal ways to find out where the students are currently performing and what their areas of needs are so that we can really target those. We have data meetings around the students. And we really try to use our resources wisely within the school building because we don't have unlimited resources. Nobody does. So we really lean on our reading specialists in the building. We also have teachers who have taken more coursework around literacy, first instruction, and phonics instruction so that there's some more certifications on our staff. Another big shift that we've done is we used to have where our paraeducators would sometimes pull the students who were performing below grade level for interventions. Well, what we've done is instead flip that around to say the highest certified person in the room, which is typically the classroom teacher, will be doing the interventions while the paraeducator does the general ed, maybe reading a story or something for the students where it's not that targeted instruction, but it may be a reinforcement of previously learned skills. And that has helped us tremendously to move the needle because the teachers are the ones who have those strategies in place and can best do those interventions for students. So I think a combination of making sure we are doing progress monitoring on our students and that the targeted instruction and intervention is in place by the classroom teacher or, the certified reading specialist to help address those. Now, if under those circumstances, students still are not making the progress, then we can actually look and also see if there are other things in play, right? Could it be an issue of dyslexia? Could it be dysgraphia? So there's other underlying concerns that might not be addressed that need to be addressed as well. So we really try to take a comprehensive view on literacy to make sure that each student is able to progress in the way that they need. And in terms of communicating with families, each of the families gets a report each quarter when they're doing the Dibbles assessment so that they know where their student is performing. And we also have resources for families like ELA nights, literacy nights, and letting the families know what resources they can do at home to reinforce. But we really try to maximize our time with students during the day because that's within our control. So making sure that the teacher has that opportunity to give those interventions has been extremely important.
First of all, I love that. And for people who are not understanding, like, this is leading with purpose, not education, right? But what you have just really demonstrated is a leader who is leading with purpose. And so I just wanted to bring that because, first of all, I love that your district does Dibbles school-wide and not just primary, because that's what you mostly see, right? So I love that. And so it's with insight, intention, that you're doing, which is why your district is such a high performing district. And so school districts across the nation should be looking at these things because, again, this is the foundation of all the success K to 12, especially with third graders now coming down the pike, in a year or two, that will be retained if they're not passing a certain assessment. So this is truly phenomenal, and it exemplifies leading with purpose. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
This is leading with purpose for many different reasons, but one of the things that I heard you say when you were talking with Dawn is the collaboration. And that's the part that I love. I forgot that I used to be my son's home and school president. And that was an environment where I was like, oh my God, God bless the principal. Because it's so many different personalities. It's so many different people. This was a school of 80 teachers. So you can imagine that. So that leads me to my question, right? How do you manage all of these personalities and aspiring leaders or people who don't want to lead to create this collaborative environment and culture that I seem to feel coming from you when I'm talking to Dr. Sharon?
I love this question because I was a student athlete for most of my life. And when you're an athlete and you're working on a team, you have a lot of different personalities. So I really do feel that my experience as an athlete, from a child all the way up through, I was a collegiate athlete as well. You just get to know people in a different way. And some people have very strong personalities. Some people are very mild and meek. Some people are in between. And so, first of all, you have to have a heart for people. You have to like different personalities, and you have to understand that each person brings a strength in their own way. And I like to equate it to our students. When you're teaching and you have 25 different students in your classroom with 25 different and unique personalities, you find a way to connect with each person. You find something special about each child and you draw that out. It's the same thing with adults. Each adult has something special in them, but it just presents differently. So I like that process of getting to know people. I ask people, what do you like to do? Oftentimes what we like to do pretty much goes hand in hand with our strengths. Not all the time, but a lot of times. So I try to connect people with their areas of strength. And I learned that from years ago, our whole district used to do strengths finders. And we used to be able to have labels that kind of told people from the beginning kind of what some of our strengths were. And that was very helpful. So I still use that same mindset to say, what are some things that you enjoy doing? What are your passions? And then letting people have an opportunity to do that more. So that's a way that I do collaboration. And again,
go ahead. I'm not on camera. I'm so sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'll pause. And communication is such an important part of this process, because when we're talking about bringing lots of adults together, we really need to be purposeful with our time, and we have to be very succinct with our goals and why we're meeting. So even if I'm pulling people together for a meeting, I always have an agenda. I always in the email will say, this is the purpose of the meeting. This is the time, the start and end time. Here's why we're meeting. At the end of the meeting, here's our goals. Walking away from the meeting, what are next steps? So I think having that collaborative spirit is good, bringing people together, but you have to be purposeful in how we structure and facilitate that time too.
Thank you, Dr. Rachel. I wish I could start school and go to your school and start all over. I don't know where I would be right now if I could.
Thanks.
So you mentioned this very briefly, but I want to ask you a more direct question related to the pandemic and what we learned as leaders through leading through that moment and leading today. And I think leadership and the education environment has been forever changed in K-12 and higher education. And we have an opportunity to take what we learned in certain capacities and apply it to the human experience today. And so as you think about that moment in time and what you've carried forward, I would love for you to just share one leadership lesson that has really stuck with you from that season.
Awesome. So first of all, the pandemic was an awful time for me professionally because I was a new principal during the onset of COVID-19. And so it was extremely hard that what I expected the principalship to be was not what was happening. And that was hard for me to square up. And it caused my mental morale, everything to plummet. And so there were definitely times when I thought, I'm going to just leave this profession totally, because at a certain point, I felt like things were not going to get better, and I wasn't sure if this was the right role for me. What I learned and had to find out through therapy was that it was the right role for me, but I had to adjust to the way that things were going, to adjust to our parents' needs, to adjust to our students' needs, to adjust to the community's needs. I was no longer in control over certain things that I used to have a better handle on. So for me, the lesson that I have learned as a leader is we need to be flexible and we need to continue to adjust. As you said, I don't think we're ever going back. I think what's happening now will continue for the foreseeable future, unless something else major changes. And so with that in mind, instead of people leaving the profession, I think it would be better if we say, we are doing our best. We're going to come to work every single day, do what we can do, and then step back, and then have the energy to come back the next day. So finding those moments of joy, even for me, it's going into the early childhood classroom, right? So I need that break time sometimes to go with a 3 or 4 year old, to sit down next to them and ask them how their day is going and what they're learning. That's enough for me to get a hug from a student. I met a student today who's starting new tomorrow. And when he left the building after they were registering, he said, "Can I have a hug from my principal?" I said, "Oh yeah, come in. You don't have to ask. Come on." That was enough for me. And I said, "I'll see you tomorrow. I'm very excited. I can't wait." So those are the moments that I have to hold on to. And what I've learned is there can be chaos. There can be all sorts of things going around us at any moment in this role. But we have to just stay focused on our purpose for why we're here and creating moments of joy to keep us sustained. And having that work-life balance, saying, "Hey, I need a break." That's okay too. I no longer feel guilty about taking a personal wellness day, because if that's what I need to do to come back whole the next day, the day after, then I have to be okay with that, because they're still getting a better version of me than had I not done it. So those are just a couple of lessons that I've learned, and that has helped me now, post-pandemic. Now I'm year 6, so I'm at 3 years from the beginning, and now I'm on my 3rd year on the back end, and I'm feeling a lot better and a lot more renewed in what I'm doing.
No, and that's beautiful. And there's so many good little nuggets inside of what you just shared, right? Finding those moments of joy, acknowledging that sometimes leadership is taking that break and showing that it's okay. So many of us thought we had to just put our head down and keep going in spite of our own mental health and well-being. And all we were modeling was that it was not okay to not be okay. And that wasn't the story we intended, but that's what happened. And so really just taking the moment to acknowledge that, to be able to model that for those that are looking to you for guidance and support, and being able to even verbalize it so that others can come to you and say, "I do need a mental health day. This is what's going on." And then what does support look like for them in that moment is where the leadership can shine. And so thank you so much for that.
Okay, Dr. Rachel. So this is our last round. I'm bringing everyone up so that we can all ask our final question. And one of the things that I've talked to you about that I love, 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 because so many times we don't associate school with branding and marketing and all of those good things, but you do a wonderful job with social media and branding, whatever school you're in, whatever environment you're in. Can you talk a little bit about, first of all, the start of that, and then where you are now with that?
So I love social media. I think that social media is such a powerful tool to use to tell a story. And so originally, when I first became a principal, we didn't use social media as an AP as much, but I said I really wanted to leverage social media to tell our school story. We have amazing things happening in every single school. So why not uplift that? if not for me, for our parents. So sometimes a parent might say, you know, what happened in school today? And the child may or may not know, but if they can go online and see that, that's amazing. Or in the newsletter, that's something new that I started doing a couple years ago that I brought to the new school. I have pictures from all around the school, and I highlight one or two every week and just let the community know what's happening. So for instance, we have an artist in residence right now. So I took a picture of the artist in residence and a child who was working on some of the artwork and just said, we're so excited to welcome this. Thank you to our PTA for sponsoring this. And that's like a couple of reasons why I do that. First, we want our parents who participate in the PTA, we want them to know where their value and the money is going, right? So it's important that they see how it is positively impacting every student in our building. And it also is good so that the families see all the wonderful things that are happening Absolutely. Within our school and in our school community. So I love leveraging social media. And for me personally, having written a book, I knew I needed to use social media in a different way. So I have my personal page, and then I have my professional page, which showcases everything from what's happening in my school to my books, to my courses, to my professional speaking things that I'm doing, to MAESP work. So it really is that a comprehensive look. What was the best thing about it is when I was moved to the new school, people started Googling me and getting, you know, their own idea of who I was. But I like that because I'm in control of that narrative. That's my story that I'm able to tell. So I appreciate those connections with families right away. Many families messaged me, welcoming me to the community. And I then said, hey, can you bring your child up to the office next week? I'd love to meet him or her. And they would bring them up and we would take our pictures. And I said, can I have permission to post it? Absolutely. So again, just nice things. And that started right from the beginning this summer. Yeah.
And they will Google you. So
okay.
Absolutely. Give you your rundown as soon as you get there. But I love it.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Wow, it's been such a pleasure to talk with you. I love when we have educators on the show. I just feel smarter at the end of the conversation. But you've done so much. You've really done so much in your career. I know you said 25 years, but it feels like you just have a young, fresh energy. So what's next for you? What are your career aspirations? Like you said, you're an adjunct professor. So what do you want to own a school, own a university? What's next for you?
Well, I am superintendent certified, so that might be off in the distant future. I've also thought about going back into the classroom. I really, truly miss teaching. I'm hoping being an adjunct professor helps scratch some of that itch a little bit, but I'm not opposed to going back to becoming a early childhood teacher again. I truly miss instruction and being down on the ground with students. I really do. So maybe superintendency, maybe maybe teaching again, definitely consulting. I'm going to continue with my consulting work. I love talking about leadership. I love helping leaders and aspiring leaders in their roles. So I think that's next. And then my immediate next role is president of MAESP, and that will be in 2025. So I'm really excited to continue to work with our MAESP leadership team and advocating for our needs across the state and across the country.
Well, I know you will succeed in everything that you do. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
So, Rachel, when I was in the classroom, I was over 20 years ago. And so social media wasn't our way of communicating. And I taught in Baltimore City public schools. And I remember joining my school community and being told not to have such high expectations of parent involvement. And that just wasn't okay for me, right? It was something that I was committed to figuring out. And little by little, earning the right, earning trust was important to me. And I know that you mentioned earlier the importance of trust in the community for you. What does it look like to turn around mindsets like that in order to help people further forge those relationships with the community so that they understand the importance of us all moving forward together in support of their children?
Yeah, I actually am going to tell a story back from my first year of teaching. 19 years ago. So I went to Temple University. I grew up in my current district, went out of state to go to Temple University in a totally different setting with awesome families, different economic status, but very, very high expectations. That's what I saw modeled from the teachers and also from the administrators that I was working under at my pre-service schools. And so when I began in my current school district as my first year of teaching, I took over a classroom in the middle of the school year. And so anyone who has done that, know that's quite a lift. They had already had 3 teachers before they met me, and this was kindergarten. So it was an extremely hard time for the families and for their children. And I had one particular family that I was, getting to know. And one of my colleagues at the time said, do not expect this family to come to parent conferences. Don't even ask them. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, well, why not? I'm going to, let mom know, and I'm going to schedule this conference for mom. And so I said, hey, here's your conference time. Are you able to make it? She said, I want to come, but I don't have transportation to the school. Now, this is me at 21 years old, okay? Mm-hmm. And mom was about my age as well. I said, okay, let me find out what we can do. I went to my principal and said, hey, there's a family that doesn't have transportation. Can we have a way for mom to get here? She said, well, this family has an older sibling and they don't have the best track record. So I am leaning against it, but I will try one time, but she has to show up because the district will pay for it. I said, I'll make sure of it. I came back to mom, we have a taxi for you. It's going to pick you up at this time, but you have to come to this conference. I'm expecting you to be here. She said, that's great. And guess what? She showed up for that conference. Yeah. And from that point, we just provided transportation for this family to come out to these conferences. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I didn't really think about that because, I solved the problem, right? I'm a problem solver, I'm a helper. But really, that mindset has always been in me that I have high expectations for myself and for other people. Sometimes you just need to ask questions to find out what people need. What are the barriers? And then let's work to figure out how to remove them. It's not rocket science, but we just have to ask a question. And I think sometimes, this is no fault of people, but sometimes we get jaded. We watch behaviors and we make some assumptions. And then we on our end are like, we tried. So sometimes it's, again, having that fresh set of eyes, having a new person coming in and saying, let me try, right? Let me ask some questions and let's see what's possible. So I'm thankful to that experience because I like to bring a fresh perspective. Even when I've been places a long time, I've learned through COVID to ask, what else can we do? Is this the only way we can do it? Or is there something else we can try? So that flexibility of thinking has really helped me connect with teachers and families alike.
Thank you so much for that, because that really echoes what I chose to do as well, which was simply to stay curious. Yeah. Help me understand how we can meet, how we can speak about your child. And it doesn't have to look the same, right? If you can't come to this scheduled meeting, maybe we can do a phone call. If we can't do a phone call, then because I was in the city, I walked that child home if they were comfortable, and I sat on the front porch. And I had 98% parent participation because I gave them choice and I allowed them to meet me where they could, right? And instead of just having the out and putting the report card in the backpack. And so I just love that you stayed curious and really fought for that family to simply find a solution that allowed them to be engaged, because that engagement continued with your support, which is just beautiful for that child as well as for the family.
Thank you. He's an adult now. That was a long time ago.
I love it.
My babies are all taller than me now. I know.
I love it. Dr. Rachel, this has been unbelievable. It's always a pleasure to discuss education with you and leadership. Always, always. And it definitely served its purpose today. So thank you for being our guest. We would like to allow you this space to share how people can connect with you, how they can reach out to you and follow all the wonderful things that you are doing.
Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed this conversation. It took me down memory lane to think about this journey. So I really appreciate all of the awesome questions. So I am on Twitter at Rachel Edoho-Eket. I'm also on Instagram at The Principal's Journey, and I'm on LinkedIn at Dr. Edoho-Eket. I'm just extremely blessed to be in this work, to be serving children every day, our staff and their families and the community. It means a lot to me. This is my life. This work is truly what I love to do. So I just, again, appreciate the opportunity to come on this awesome broadcast tonight and just share a little bit more about my story and continue to encourage all the educators and all the leaders just to keep doing the work as it serves other people, and making sure that you're taking time for yourself to renew and refresh so that you can come every day to this work and do it in a fulfilling way.
Thank you. Again, our guest today, Dr. Rachel, best-selling author, elementary principal, ASCD faculty member, adjunct professor, and president-elect of Maryland Association of Educators, Educational Elementary Principals. We want to say thank you. And to our listeners and to our viewers, we want to thank you as well. Thank you for joining another episode of Leading with Purpose. And again, I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter.
I'm Maisha B. Hoy.
And I'm Dawn Marie Bornheimer. As you navigate your leadership journey, remember that leading with purpose is not just a philosophy, it is a commitment to making an impact.
And if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it. Don't forget to subscribe so that you'll never miss an opportunity to explore the intersection of leadership and purpose.
And be like our guests. Continue to lead, empower, inspire, and achieve.
And until next time, lead with passion, lead with a positive intention, and by all means, continue to lead with purpose. Thank you for joining the Leading with Purpose podcast. Please join us every Monday for a new episode.